Good afternoon, guys. Just got back from work and walked into this package. So this is going to be the right-hand side of the right-hand side torque box for the 69 fastback. So I'm going to take it out to the garage and we will open it up and see what it looks like. So I will catch you guys in the garage. Alright guys, so finally back in the garage today. It's been a while, been a long work week. So this is the right hand side torque box for the 69 fastback. So this is from CJ Pony Parts. So pretty good job on the shipping. I expected it to take a little bit longer, but it showed up pretty quickly. So this again is the two-piece torque box. So I'm gonna take it all out and then we will check it out. Okay, so thank you, box. Your job is done. We'll have it there. Alright. So this is what the torque box looks like. This is the gasket that goes from the frame rail to the actual torque box. And then it is a two-piece torque box. And it should be something to that effect. So the frame rail is going to be in here. This is going to attach the torque box and the frame as an additional, I guess, support. Even though the everything supports each other because it is a unibody structure. So what I'm going to do today is finally get to cutting the steel. I know I've been talking about that like forever, but obviously with the amount of work in the work schedule, it just wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So I'm going to start measuring the marks. Or start measuring and then marking where I'm going to cut it, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to get the marker and then start marking it, and then we'll start cutting it. Alright guys, so pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the back and measure 11 3/16 because that is going to be the bottom of the rear frame rail all the way to the back, or the furthest to the back. And that has a height of 11 3/16. And I'm going to show you on which measurement I'm talking about. So this is the back frame rail, and this height right here, which is the furthest to the back, is 11 3/16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this piece of steel 11 3/16 up and mark it with the crayon, and then mark it because it's multiple angles on it in multiple points. And then go with the straight steel edge, or straight part, and then just transfer the line all the way across, obviously giving into account the thickness of the cutting wheel. So I'm going to get the measuring tape and then start marking it. Alright guys, so 11 3/16 was the mark, and that is where I will mark it with this crayon. Right about there. And then just keep on going all the way across. So I'm going to do that, and then once I start transferring the line to make it straight, I will show you guys how I will do that. Alright guys, so pretty much have the areas marked out. So now I'm just going to put the straight piece of steel on it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is obviously take into account the crayon and just go from this point all the way here, and then that way I'll have a nice even line. And then when I will cut a little bit on top, probably right in the middle of the crayon. That way we'll keep the original height that we need. So I'm going to keep on going all the way across, and then I will show you guys once it is time to start cutting. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like with the crayon all the way across. So now what I'm going to do is connect the or change that grain or wire brush over to the cutting wheel, and then I will start cutting this. Alright guys, so got the cutting wheel switched out or placed on. I'm going to grab some safety glasses. And then we'll start making our cut. So pretty much have the steel in a bit more of a comfortable place because we don't want it to be moving on you as much. So I do need to place a little piece of wood right here so that way it doesn't tilt down. And let's see if I can find that real quick. Alright, so I'll just slide this guy right underneath it. That way it doesn't move around. Alright, so I'm going to start making the cut. And you just want to first embed the cutting wheel. Okay, so that's one cut. So we got a couple more to go. So that is the piece that we were looking for. And this is going to go all the way to the back of the car. It'll be positioned back here where the jack stand is at. So that's one. I got to make one more. So I'm going to do the same thing, measure and then cut it. Alright guys, so pretty much the same thing that we did on the last piece. All we're going to do is measure the 11 3/16. So measuring tape and mark it again on all the points like we did on the previous one. And down to the last cut. All right, so we got two. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them on these rails right here. All right guys, so we're going to put the measuring tape next to it to make sure that we are at where we need to be. So the mark was 11 3/16, and we are, looks to be good. Going to hook up the welder to the metal that we're going to weld on, and check your settings. I have mine on a speed I feel comfortable with, so always check your settings when you're starting a weld. So that's going to end up going like this, and I'm just going to tack it right here and then throw a nice bead on it. And then we'll lay the car on it, and then we will tack the frame rail to this piece. So I'm going to get the helmet, or else I'll be in for a rough day if I leave these glasses on. Okay. All right. So. Okay, so we got some nice strips on it, and we should be in good shape. So I'm gonna let it cool down, and then we'll get on the other one. Alright guys, so here's what it looks like. I'm gonna end up tacking the rear taillight panel, and now we're gonna go back to our sheet that we have up here on the 73, and we're gonna make these guys. So remember that it shows 6.5, and that's with the from the center bolt hole to the bottom straight line. So that is 1.25 inches from the center to the end or the bottom of the frame rail. So what I'm going to do is just subtract the 1.25 from the 6.5, which will leave you at 5.125. So I'm going to start making that piece. And then that is going to go right over from here to right about here would be my guess where we're going to have it at. So right there. So I'm going to start measuring and then cutting. So so we're going to start doing our 5.125, which will be 5 1/8. And I'm going to start grabbing the measuring tape and starting to mark the 5.125. Alright guys, so I have all my points marked. So I'm going to do is just grab that straight piece of metal and go from the marking to the other marking. That way there is no no crooked surface, or the cut doesn't come out uneven. Because even though the metal may be uneven, the original piece that we're using, this is going to give you a straighter cut than if you just do 5.125 in one area and then just hope for the best. So we're gonna run the line through it. And it's kind of hard to see with this crayon, but it does leave a good impression sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to grab the cutting wheel and start cutting. So once I am done cutting, I will make another one, and then that way we'll start welding again. Alright guys, we're going to start cutting this metal. So let me get my other glove on. Alright guys, so just finished cutting the second piece, and this is what it looks like. So that is 5.125 or 5 1/8, whichever one you want to call it. But now what I'm going to do is move the welder over here, and that way I can weld that piece onto that rail, and that way we can take the torque boxes, or that black one that's leaning on the cinder block. So that's what is up next. Alright guys, so what I'm going to undo is this rocker panel, because it doesn't make sense anymore. It's just getting in the way. And that way we can move things a little bit easier. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the torque box. This is considered the torque box right here, and the rail is this guy right here. And I'm going to grab that other piece of metal that we made, and pretty much kick this out, lift up the rail, and move the cinder block, and move the other rail over, and hopefully no one gets hurt. Number one thing. So what I don't want to do is block the alignment hole that is over here in the middle. So I am placing the this piece of metal a little bit forward of it, because once the floor comes in and the other subframe components or frame rail supports or floor supports, whichever you want to call them, they have various names. Once they come in, we're going to need to get our center point from there to somewhere over here. So right now, just setting the jig to the height that is recommended, and then we'll get to the front. And what I am also going to do is put a piece over that way. That way the jig doesn't move back and forth. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to move the welder over here, finish welding those guys up, and go from there. Alright guys, so I'm going to start clamping up the welder ground. So that way we can get some welding done. Alright, let me switch into the helmet. Okay, so it's done. Don't have welding to the frame yet, but I am just welding this piece of metal to the rail. So I'm going to finish up the everything there. There we go. All right, so we have the back, or the front, whatever, the torque boxes pretty much in the height that we need them. So this is the way it looks now, and what we're gonna end up doing is getting another piece of metal and then setting the points for where the rails should be, and then that way we can also create the height that we need, which will be this guy right here, which pretty easy. This is from the bottom of the frame rail, and that is going to be X6, which X tells you that it is 6 inches right over here. So it's just from the frame rail to the bottom, or to the rail, the top of the rail, which will be 6 inches. So I am going to measure 6 inches here and do 2 of those. That way we can have both points of these, and then the torque box we can start prepping to weld onto the rail, and we just got to make sure that our overall floor flange dimension is correct, which on here it is 54 3/4, and I already had measured the ones in the back, and those are 54 3/4. So that's the lip of the torque box all the way at the corner there to the inner lip of this one, and that would be where the floor would sit, right over in here, right in here, once the floor comes in. All right, guys, I'm gonna start doing the 6 inches on the this piece of metal. All right, guys, so just got through cutting the other 2 6-inch pieces that we need for so here they are. Those are your 6-inch pieces. They're gonna be from the bottom of the frame rail, this piece right here, which will be on here, and then onto the rail. So the same thing, it'll be sitting like the other ones. It'll be like that, and then we'll tack it in place, and then do the same thing with the front rail, and then that way we can start getting the boxes lined up. And while we wait for the floor supports or frame extensions or whatever you want to call them, like I said before, people have a million names for them. I need to get another piece of tube like that guy, so that way we can finish up the front section. So that's where we're at for today. Looks like that is all we can accomplish today. So 80% of that jig is set. I was able to get some coasters, so I'm going to get that hopefully tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, and then that way we can put the frame or chassis, floor area, the structure of the car on some skates so we can make it mobile. So until the next one, guys, I'm going to place the order for the subframe connectors or frame extensions or floor supports, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, so not bad. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer, but not too bad. So that should be the end of the video for today. Like I said, I'm going to order the parts when I get upstairs, and that way we can have those parts on the way here, and then hopefully we can work in between my work schedule, which looks to be interesting, but we'll make it work and go from there. So see you guys on the next one.